Although I have this one my own hat here, when I give some talk with a strong light. Yes. This hat I always carry, but this is more comfortable, so I
Covers
use
more
this.
of your head, right. So, Your Holiness, there's a little news to talk about, which is that yesterday in Brussels, the President of the European Union was meeting with the Chinese Premier, Li Keqiang, and he said afterwards that he, and I'm quoting him, he said, "I have urged China to restart a meaningful dialogue with the Dalai Lama's representatives." So do you think there's any hope there for something to come of that?
I didn't heard that. But in any way, some Chinese leaders, since some time back, you see, they realize the present existing policy is actually counterproductive. So these people usually have some sort of, thinking seriously how to solve this problem. And then still hardliners also you see there. You see, they feel the present their suppressive policy can win. These are short-sighted, too much emotion. And these people, I think, out of their weakness, they shy to admit their failure. It's silly. So they are acting for most populated nation. Mistake always happen. Admit mistake, then change.
Not easy for humans to do. Not easy for humans to do.
Right. So now, for example, I think recently, one deputy party secretary of Autonomous Region of Tibet, when he met some Indian correspondent, Indian media people, few of them, he mentioned there is sort of talk going very smoothly about the Dalai Lama's sort of pilgrimage, some of the Buddhist sort of holy places in China. The deputy party secretary. Then I think within next, after 2-3 months, the party secretary, you see, sort of re-irritated their hardliner attitude. So it is clearly shows there are some different opinions among their organization like that. So we'll see. But one sort of hopeful sign now among the Chinese. Of course, historically, China is a Buddhist country. So no matter how hard work, immense destruction during Cultural Revolution, but the revival of spirituality, a lot of Christians, and a lot of Buddhists. So traditionally, China as a Buddhist country. So now today, Buddhist population in China, over 400 millions. I think bigger than American population, like that.
And
so many of them really showing genuine interest about Tibetan Buddhism. Many of them follow Tibetan Buddhism. And in India also, they annually, or these days, every week, some Chinese from mainland China come to India seeing me. And most of them, when we met, tear comes, like that. So these are I think the sign of maturity. And then also the Xi Jinping, president, he publicly stated in Paris as well as in Delhi, the Buddhism, a very important part of Chinese culture. He publicly mentioned like that. So this is some positive sign. But we'll see, difficult to predict. A
But-
communist, authoritarian, closed society, difficult to predict.
But Your Holiness, at the same time that you see those positive signs and you talk about the increase of Buddhism in China, one of the issues you've been very concerned about and President Bush has been so concerned about and that his institute focuses on is religious freedom around the world. And we're seeing terrible instances of religious freedom being suppressed, whether it's the Yazidis or Christians in Syria and Iraq, or whether it's Muslims in Nigeria and Christians in Burma. I mean, there are awful examples around the world. Is there something we can be doing about that?
그래서 줄로. Now, one of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. With belief or understanding the various different religious traditions, I usually should look three aspects. One aspect is religion. That aspect, whether theistic religion or non-theistic religion, all religion, you see, carry, as I mentioned earlier, same message of love, same practice, you see, these things. Then, another aspect is philosophy. There are differences. Even within theistic religion, there are some differences. And between theistic and non-theistic, major differences. But these different philosophical views are same goal. You see, use different views, different philosophical views in order to strengthen, in order to promote these religious sort of message of love. For example, according to theistic religion, we all created by one God. That God, infinite love. So since that kind of creator, infinite love, looks like our Father. This very life created by God. So that means we have direct sort of link with God. That is infinite love. So that brings, you see, enthusiasm. We created by such sort of wonderful, infinite loving sort of God. So that automatically gives us courage to practice love. Then also you see, everyone have some kind of spark of God. Wonderful. Then non-theistic religion also uses a certain way to sort of emphasize importance of practice of love. So different method, different philosophy is like different method, same goal. Then that different method is necessary among the humanity, different location, India, Europe, at different part of the world, you see different location, different cultural heritage, different way of life, therefore automatically different mental disposition there, so different way of approach is necessary. So long all aiming same goal, promotion of love, compassion, forgiveness. Then third part is cultural heritage. That's when these founders come, the actual sort of circumstances, environment, accordingly certain aspect of culture, see happen. So I notice many of my friends, Christians, wonderful, really dedicated, serving people. Then some Muslims also, wonderful. I want to share with you here the meaning of jihad. You see, nowadays, you see, jihad means something, you see, harming other people. Real meaning of jihad is not that way. Jihad means combat within yourself destructive emotion. Combat with destructive emotion. That's the meaning of jihad. So all practitioners of love always carry jihad. Anger, hatred, and compassion. Or say combat. So like that. So genuine Islam practitioner should not create any bloodshed of human being. So they say the Islam practitioner must extend love towards entire creature of Allah. What a wonderful. So you see, every religion, you see, that sort of what say, if you sincerely follow, if you sort of seriously follow, then all major religious tradition, I think, really worthwhile to respect. So like that. So we have to accept there is differences, but all differences, same goal, same aim. Then no problem.
Right, no problem, there you are. Good.
So these things,
So,
you see, due to lack of contact, remain isolated. Then here, you know, I think historically, you see, the concept of one truth, one religions. So every religion, you see, talking that is according individual believer. That's good, that's relevant. Believe one truth, or so one religion. But in the terms of community, in the terms of humanity, several truths, several religions there. Last over 3,000 years, you see, different religions there. Whether we like it or not, it is a reality. We have to live together. So that's much better live harmoniously rather than killing.
right.
Silly.
Let me ask
These
you,
are sort of as the narrow-minded, short-sighted.
let me ask you about another aspect of living together. You talked about moral education, and you have become very interested in another cause that Mrs. Bush is very interested in, which is the education of women and girls. And her friend Mrs. Obama has taken the cue from Mrs. Bush, and they work on it together. Do you see ways that, tell us why you think that's so important?
Because of women. Here, you see, since many years, I am sort of telling, I emphasize, in human history, I think several 100,000 years ago, then human population very small, and the lifestyle very, very simple. At that time, no concept of leadership. So all live together equally, and whatever they get, share together. Then gradually population increased. Then also farming system developed. Then some mischievous people, some crimes, they happen. Then the concept of leadership comes. So at that time, no rule of education. So in order to become a leader, the physical strength, like other animals, social animals, they're more stronger sort of physically, that usually should lead. So like that. So then male dominance you see start. Then gradually education develop. So education brings more equal. man, male and female. Now today, education alone not sufficient, not adequate to bring happy person or happy community, as I mentioned earlier. So now, time come, we have to pay more attention about value of love. In that respect, in such time, female should take more active role regarding promoting of how to say, the compassionate society, compassionate humanity. Again, it's just according to scientists, female biologically more sensitive about others' pain. I think human history, we can see most of sort of past hero. Those hero means great murderer. Most of these heroes are male, isn't it?
It's a shame.
I think some female hero may be there, but most of them are male. So therefore, now today, I think the nurses and in aeroplane kaza, hospices
now. Hostesses now.
Oh, in aeroplane. Oh,
Hostesses, yeah.
hostesses and nurses, mostly, you see, female. You see, they really take care like that. So therefore, as scientists mentioned, you see, female biologically more sensitive of others' sort of pain. So female should take more active role for promotion of human, the compassionate humanity. Firstly, I think the female, all mother, female, no matter how kind of father, you see, it cannot bring sort of just milk. So me also, you see, as a male, always talk compassion, nurturing people, but I cannot also provide milk like that. So therefore, biologically, female, you see, biologically, you see, equipped, you see, caring, because of the child, like that. So again, you see, scientists say that after birth, mother's physical touch, the child, is very important factor for proper development of their brain. Then it's those people who received maximum affection in the early part of life, their whole life remain more compassionate person. In deep inside, some kind of happy, less sense of insecure. Insecurity. That those people who outwardly very smart, but you see, who lacking affection at the time of very young age, then in deep inside, some sense of insecurity. With that, difficult to trust other people. So that person remain in deep inside unhappy person. So therefore, the mother, very, very important, female, very, very important. Sometimes I jokingly is telling the world leader or president or prime minister, if female take more responsibility in leadership, perhaps I think world become more
Peaceful.
because of more peaceful.
Right.
I really feel that. So that really, you see, really, I really feel you see, seriously, in any way, we need making constant effort, tirelessly, to promote these deeper human value, which we equate by biologically. Now, some scientists sort of experimented. And on some occasion, I also used to participate. You see, very young infant, few months, not yet developed language, show cartoon, one cartoon, same sort of young age sort of, because of the children, play together, showing affection. The very young infant person, even a child, is showing smile, happy. Then cartoon show, another cartoon show, you see, one child creates some obstacle to other, more negative way. Then the infant child, you see, express unhappy sorrow, response. So that shows basic human nature is more compassionate. And biologically, you see, as I mentioned earlier, you see, constant anger, hatred, very bad for our health. Compassionate mind really release our inner fear. You know, when you have more compassionate sort of feeling, look, this person looks friend, human brother, sister. Look here, human brother, sisters. If you keep here too much self-centered attitude and fear, distrust, look here also is distance. Then I always say, telling people, when I give talk, when I meet people, I always consider myself as just another human being. If I too much emphasis, I'm Dalai Lama, or then actually I myself distance from the audience, then more anxiety, like that, more fear. So I myself make prisoner of Dalai Lama-ship, right? Like that. So therefore, you see the compassion. So female, I think biologically more potential to provide love, not to the love or the physical sort of beauty, not mad love, not that, genuine love.
Genuine love.
No, that is, I think, very, very important, like that. Okay.
Okay.
I think I want to add something. Loving kindness. Now here, you see two levels. One level, biological factor. That even common with animal. That biological factor, compassion, love, is very much based on others' attitude. So that kind of affection, love, cannot extend towards your enemy. Now we human beings, with help of this marvelous intelligence, and with help of intelligence, our common sense, thinking humanity, you see, nobody wants enemy. The ultimate source of enemy is your own destructive emotion. That brings enemy. If you keep loving kindness towards anybody, including your enemy, then today's enemy eventually, you see, will change. So therefore, you see, use common sense, then extend our loving kindness towards entire humanity. Not oriented their attitude, but oriented as a human brother, sisters. Your enemy also human brother, sisters. So then, at that time, we have to make distinction. Enemy's action and enemy as an actor, make distinction. Action is concerned, sometimes we need appropriate countermeasure to stop their wrongdoing. But actor, enemy, as a human being, they also reserved our loving kindness.
So I want to get in one
So that's,
question from the audience.
that's unbiased loving kindness. Previous one, biased loving kindness.